Hello, welcome to Make Kind Loud, conversations that turn up the volume. This week we are talking to Aubrey Warren. Hello, Aubrey, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I am wonderful. Cannot complain. I am super excited that you said yes.
Me too. Anytime I get to have an enlightened conversation is a good day for me. So I appreciate the time and energy.
I love that. So I'm just going to read your bio and then we're going to jump right into it.
Okay.
Aubrey Warren is a wife, boy mom, animal lover, and nature enthusiast. She's an event producer and promoter, conscious dance facilitator, holistic lifestyle coach, experienced registered yoga teacher, certified yoga education provider, and Reiki practitioner. Aubrey has over 20 years of teaching experience and specializes in communal and individual female empowerment, believing that the best way to connect to those we love is by first connecting to ourselves. Let's give a warm welcome for my guest, Aubrey Warren. Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love that. I love that so much. So tell us just a little bit about yourself and we're just going to jump in. So what do
you as most people, I feel like there's lots of different things I could share as far as sharing about myself. We all have a story that's unfolding. If I would share anything about myself right now, I think the condensed version of that is I was born and raised in rural America up in Northwest Missouri. Okay. I moved to Texas for college because I was just like wanting to bust out, and honestly, I didn't like the cold weather, and so I moved to Texas. And I was in an abusive relationship in college. And that's the reason why I'm so passionate these days about female empowerment and communal female empowerment, because sometimes I wonder if had some of the seeds that I have that have been planted within me and some of the things that I've discovered since exiting college to help my healing journey, had I been aware of those things as a teenage girl, maybe I would have had a different level of relationship with my body, with myself. And so maybe I wouldn't have allowed myself to been victimized in the way that I was in my late teens and early 20s. So, and a big stepping stone and healing process of that was me discovering yoga and developing the tools to deal with my own demons, my own mental instability that we all have, in order to feel more whole within my heart, within my body, within my psyche, to feel empowered to be able to speak my truth and so on. So yoga is a huge part of my journey, although that's not necessarily the thing that I'm talking about the most these days, if that makes sense.
No, I totally makes sense. Well, let's just talk about it for briefly. How did you get into yoga?
Okay, so I got into yoga because, after that abusive relationship, I did a lot of not nice things to my body in order to start to feel better about myself. I used to be 50 pounds heavier, and I started wanting to get healthy the unhealthy way, and that was through, I was addicted to diet pills in my late college career, and that manifested into bladder infections that wouldn't go away through poor nutrition and through pumping toxins throughout my body. Basically, my body started manifesting just sickness, and it was after being on antibiotics for a year that I was really, really tired of Western medicine, and so I turned to a Chinese practitioner in Grapevine, Texas, named Dr. Lee, and his prescription to me, first of all, this is the huge turning point, is he was the first person who asked me, the first doctor to ask me, what's been going on in your personal life and what have you been putting into your body? First person to ask me that. And that right there was the key to start to change everything was just that. And so he prescribed yoga and prescribed it twice a week. And so I joined a gym and I started going to yoga. And what happened for me was after 6 months of practice, of diligent practice, when I say diligent, twice a week, right? For the first 6 months, twice a week for an hour. For the first 6 months, I found my bladder infections were gone. And also, I was no longer needing the asthma medications that I had been on since my childhood. And my body just slowly started to change. And so I'm one of those people that I like to dive in. I'm either in or I'm out. Yeah. And so it was like, after 6 months, I was like, I'm seeing what this is doing for my mind and my body. I have to learn more. And so within not even a year of practice, I started going through my own teacher training process.
I love that. I love that. I love that he asked you that, and that was like something that you needed at that time, because nobody else was asking that question.
No one was asking that question, and that question was everything. That question was everything. And that right there was the big catalyst of the unfolding of really the work that I feel like I'm here to do, is really help people understand what we're putting in our physical bodies, and everything that's going on around us affects the system and affects the temple that we reside in. Right. And so it's about becoming conscious about all of that.
How do you help women become conscious of that? Like, how do you empower them to find their own empowerment?
Well, first, with most people, it starts with movement and nutrition. For most of us, that's where it starts, because, we have to get grounded into our bodies before, and start to feel comfortable in our own skin before, that's just the stepping stone. It's the evolution of human consciousness. First, we have to feel comfortable in the container that we're in. We have to root into our bodies so we can rise up and become empowered. I love that quote.
I love
it. Comes from,
say it again.
And I'm not going to play. This is not an Aubreyism. This is Lisa Lester. She's one of my favorite authors right now. It's root to rise, sisters. Wow, we have to root to rise. And so first, it usually starts with diet and nutrition. And that's usually where it starts, nutrition and movement, because that's where it starts. The second thing is really getting in touch with what we're feeling inside of our bodies. And for every woman getting in touch with that, the pathway is different. So it's not a one size fits all for everybody. And I think that's the part that's important. We find gurus and we find teachers who say, this is the path, this is what I did. And we hold them in a high regard. And so we decide this is the path I'm going to go. And when for some reason, because of our nature, that's not the path that speaks to us or fits for us, we end up using that as another shame stick to beat ourselves with in order to beat ourselves into submission. So for example, even with diet and with nutrition and movement, that's not a one fits all for everybody either. You have all of these fad diets of people doing Atkins or keto or whatever, right? And for some, you have to find what's sustainable for you and your body. And so a lot of times that just starts with journaling. I ate this yesterday, and this is how I feel today. Yeah. I moved my body like this yesterday, and this is how I feel today. Whether it's empowered and energetic or whether it's sluggish and drained and lethargic, the foods we put into our bodies and how we choose to move our bodies and what we choose to watch on the TV and and the things that we read, whether we're reading a Cosmo or we're reading Brene Brown, it's a really big difference in the way our mind and our psyche is going to start to unfold. So that's usually where it starts. The second place this is where I'm really passionate about right now, is tapping into your unconscious rage. As women.
Talk about that.
Okay.
What does that mean?
We as women, what does that mean? Gosh, there's so many levels that I could speak to on this. All right. But we as women were born into a generation in which we live in a patriarchal society.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's just the system that we were born and we were raised into. And within the patriarchy, which is a masculine dominated outlook on life, everything is linear, right? And because that's the male projection. Everything is linear. Men's bodies generally are on a regular basis.
Right.
We as women are cyclical. We know that because we have a cycle. We menstruate. Every single month, our bodies go through a cycle. And yet we have been sold a way of living that is linear. That whether it's linear like this or linear like this, right? You start and you want to achieve.
Right.
And what I found with women is because we've been sold that method of doing things. And about if you're still ovulating and if you're still menstruating and if you're still in that phase of your life, about day 25 of your cycle, all of the hormones in your body shift and plummet. All of our energy levels drop naturally. We literally have hormones that are in our bodies that are like, cut the freaking cord. Like I'm pregnant or I'm not, flush or embody, right? We have those hormones going through our system. And so usually what happens in that point is like, we're on this path. And then all of a sudden, if we're not paying attention, we crash and burn, right? And we say something that is not considered ideal in that situation, right? And so therefore, then we're like, what the hell? What just happened? Why did I do this again, right? And we beat ourselves up on a regular basis. But it's not, and so many of us are like, something's wrong with me. And so we go and we get on PMDD medication and anti-anxiety medication and all this depression medication in order to, it's just to tame the cycle. To tame the beast. But in all reality, if we become conscious of the cycle that's going on within us, and instead of like when we're going up, we hit like day 25, if instead of having those unrealistic expectations that we're going to keep going, and instead when we hit that day 25, we take things off of our plate. We give ourselves time. We give ourselves like 3 days a month of just like chill out
and just
just to allow ourselves to allow our bodies to do its processes.
What it does, right?
Dude, we bleed for 5 days and we don't die. Like that is magical. That is magical. Guys can't do that. No, guys can't bleed for 5 days and not die. So we deserve rest during that time. Yeah. But we've been sold that if we have to take time to rest, that something's wrong with us. And that causes us to get angry.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. And that's the unconscious rage right there.
That's the unconscious rage right there. And so we take that unconsciously, we end up projecting that rage onto all the people that we love.
Yeah.
All the people that we love. I discovered this through my own experience of, it was like every month, the same time, I would pick a fight with my husband unconsciously, like I would say something to trigger him, and then it would just give me an opportunity to emotionally vomit all over him, right? Yeah. And every month that just chipped away a little bit more of the loving, positive vibes within my home. And right now we're living in a society in which more than 50% of marriages end in divorce. And 50% of those marriages end in divorce because women are sexually unsatisfied and men don't know what to do to please them.
Right.
And so it's about getting in touch with our cycle and then getting in touch with our own bodies. So then we can communicate to those who we love truly what's going on inside of us, And when we communicate with loving, authentic relating, that's a whole lot easier of a pill for our men and our partners and our children and our friends to swallow than pointing the blame at them as why they are the reason for our suffering.
Right, right. Because then when you're pointing the blame, then that brings up walls, and then the communication doesn't happen.
Yes, 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 yes. So I meet with women one-on-one, and I also, we do it virtually, or we do it in coffee shops, so we can really start diving into that. And I also, I'm really passionate about bringing women together.
Yeah.
Because there's something profound about the female experience in the healing of the heart and soul of being witnessed by other women. Women have been gathering in circles since the dawn of time. And we have, through the technological age and the industrial age, we've really let that go.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a part of my calling and several other women that I'm in community with, to bring that back. So every month at Keller Yoga, which is my home yoga studio, we have a women's circle in order to where we gather and we share stories, we connect, we sing, we dance, I share information like this about us getting in touch with our cycles or whatnot, so we can empower each other, because ultimately, I mean, we're all looking for the same thing. We all want to be loved and all want to belong. And so just trying to find the tools in order to make that a little bit more accessible.
I love that. And I agree. That's it. I mean, we all want to belong and we all want to be loved. And it's just, again, that allowing of that to happen and knowing that we belong to each other. Like we're all connected.
We're all a part of one race, and that's the human race.
Yep.
And the more we separate each other because of nationality or religion or sexual orientation or any of that, the more that's reflected in our society, and it's reflected in our environment. And you know, I really believe that we're at a really important time to be alive right now.
Yeah.
And it's about like letting go of blaming all the systems. And girl, I can go on a tangent about this forever. I mean, the story I was telling you, that like the rage inside even boils down to, no matter how much I freaking love Disney, I love Disney. We're Disney World freaks. But the story of the Sleeping Beauty, who just waiting for her prince to come along and kiss her and to wake her up and to make things all better and to make it happily ever after, like that, again, we were sold a story that is not serving us right now. Right. And so it's about waking up and deciding that like we are the heroines that we've been waiting for. And it's about just like learning our own bodies and truly getting to know ourselves. So we stop blaming others.
Yeah. And it's in us. I mean, we were born with it. So it's within us. And all we have to do is just tap into it.
And for many people, that's like, well, what do I got to do? Tell me what I got to do. Tell me what I got to do to tap into that. Like looking for a checklist, you know, of things to do to be able to do that. And the hardest part, but yet the most profound, is just taking time to be still every day.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Just taking time to.
And just to meditate and just to be with yourself.
And to be with yourself. And I think specifically your breath, because, you know, we need oxygen. Our bodies need oxygen. And you can look at this as from a physiological standpoint or a philosophical standpoint or even a spiritual standpoint, where our bodies need oxygen. About 80 to 90% of all human sickness these days and disease is caused by stress. And the number one thing that all people have in common who have stress-related illnesses and disease, they all are chronic chest breathers. So taking the time to practice diaphragmatically breathing every day soothes the central nervous system, and it means that it stops cortisol production. And cortisol is the stress hormone that keeps us in fight or flight, that causes us to binge out on carbs because we're looking for energy, because we're in that heightened emotional state that ends up causing all sorts of other problems in our bodies. So from a physiological standpoint, it's all about the central nervous system and chilling out the body. But from a philosophical standpoint, you're looking to quiet the mind in order to, to be able to hear the wisdom that resides within our own bodies and within our own nature. And from a spiritual standpoint, like in yoga, the word for breath is prana. And the word for prana means life force and spirit. So for those people, say for example, who follow a Christian belief system, I mean, every time you take a full and complete breath, you're creating more space for the Holy Spirit to enter into your body.
Oh, I love
literally.
that. Yeah.
And so then you're alive with spirit, you're alive with inspiration. And when you are walking within that energy, it's totally different than in that negative state of mind swirling space, And for those people who don't practice Christian belief system, I'm a boy mom. Star Wars is huge in my life. Life force, dude. It's the force. There's no freaking difference. It's the force. So bringing in the force of any kind heightens your awareness, heightens your power, heightens your creativity. And it also helps quiet down the monkey mind of all of that programming that keeps us in rage.
The noise. That keeps us in the rage. The noise that's happening, we just need to quiet it down, and we can come out of that rage and, like you said, deprogram ourselves.
And the interesting thing is too, I mean, when it boils down to diet and nutrition, I mean, our cells have infinite wisdom, and everything you ever need is already inside. But you have to quiet the mind in order to hear the body speak to you. So like we talk about all of these diets and fads and so on. Dude, your body knows what you need. Stop reading in Cosmo and Self about the specific diets that you need to follow. You need to drink more water and you need to eat more plants. We all know that.
Yeah.
So it's about just quieting the mind and quit making it so complicated.
I could talk to you forever. I mean, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. Literally everything. I'm just like, thank you. That was absolutely beautiful. And I appreciate you coming on and just sharing your light and your energy with us.
Thank you for having me. I love to have these conversations. These are one of my favorite things to do. And if you ever need a speaker at one of your next engagements, I have lots of things to say.
Well, I got you on the list for sure. This has been Make Kind Loud, conversations that turn up the volume. And today we talked to Aubrey Warren, who was just amazing and talking to us about the unconscious rage that we go through and about just literally being still and tapping into our breath, which is the life force. So again, thank you, Aubrey, for all of your wisdom, and I appreciate your time.
Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste. From my heart to yours, this has been Make Kind Loud, conversations that turn up the volume. Stay tuned next week when we'll have another episode. You guys have a fantastic weekend. Bye.